about Iraq, not Iran. I knew why, because I'd been through the Pentagon right after 9/11. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs," meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me." And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, "You remember that?" He said, "Sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you."
I'm sorry.
و به فضل خدا خواب راحت را از چشم ترامپ و از نابش خواهند رو بود.
حاج قاسم فقط یه رزمنده نبود، فقط یه فرمانده نبود، امید همه مظلومای عالم بود.
Second Esdras, chapter 15, verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High, YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, Rakakadash. That's the name of the Heavenly Father, YAHAWAH, and His beloved Son, YAHAWASHI, in the ancient Hebrew tongue. I also want to give double honors to the head apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth, along with the sincere brethren that's doing the work as well. Shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives, who are the children of Israel, according to the scriptures, right? So as you saw in the opening clip, this general was pretty much giving a confession of how America conducts its business, you know. And he pretty much exposed the plot that these elites have in order to go into these other countries and start wars. And they doing that so they can steal their resources, such as oil and gold and other resources, all right? So the EU and the NATO, which is the beast, which is described in Revelation, controls America, and they use America as a hammer in order to break in pieces these other nations to go in and to steal their riches. Okay, so this is what they have been doing all along. This is why 9/11, the plot on 9/11 was started, so they can have a reason to go into Iraq to steal their oil. All right, oil is one of the greatest commodities that you can possess. And so in order for them to go in to take those resources, they had to create order out of chaos, okay? So they create these scenarios which justifies them in the eyes of the masses to go in and to seize these resources. And that's what they're doing now with Iran, all right? But this time it's going to backfire on them because Iran has allies, you know? They have Russia, they have Libya, they have Ethiopia, then they also have China, And all these countries are going to come together against Iran, and that's prophesied in the scripture. So we're going to tell you what's going on through the spirit and power of YAHAWASHI in the scriptures, because the Bible is a prophetic book, and it prophesies World War III, which is what we're going to get into. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, this is Revelation chapter 11, verse 14. It says, "The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe comes quickly." All right, so what do you think that word woe means? All right, that woe means destruction, all right, which is dealing with war. All right, so the second war is past, and behold, the third war coming quickly, and this is going to be the last war. All right, and this is not going to be a hand-to-hand comeback or a shoot 'em out type war, you know, but it's mainly going to be with nuclear weapons. Isaiah 9:5 says, "For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire." Now, what does that get into? All right, that's getting into the nuclear warheads that these countries possess, which is gonna be used to World War III. This is gonna be a war of Armageddon. All right, so these countries, they're gonna use their nuclear weapons that they have. This is the final war. All right, and they're gonna be used. This is Job 3 and start at verse 9. And the Most High is setting all this up. All right, it says, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say that I am strong." All right, so the Most High is preparing a draft. All right, these countries, they're gonna put down, you know, work. They're gonna be drafted into this war. All right, and it says, "Let the weak say that I am strong," and this is dealing with these other countries outside of America, which have nuclear capabilities, which makes them strong as well. Okay, because they possess the weapons to destroy America. All right. It says, verse 11, "Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down." And this is talking about the war of Armageddon, when the angels themselves are going to come down with our Lord Yahawashi, and they're going to do battle with these nations. All right. It says, "Let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Yahawashi. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about." All right. Yahawashi is a barren land that's reserved for judgment for these nations in the Middle East, and the Lord is sending all these armies over to the Middle East to prepare them. All right. So when these armies take flight and these troops leave America and they go into the Middle East, they're not coming back. All right. The Lord is preparing them for slaughter. All right. So it says, "Put ye in the sickle before the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision." And that is in the Middle East, as I was saying. All right. So you see right here, you have Iran and you have Iraq. All right. You have this river right here. It's a river called River Euphrates that flows right up in here. All right. And that river has dried up. I had to look it up and find the scripture dealing with that. But that's the way, make way for the kings of the east. So let me grab that real quick. All right. It's going to be in Revelation 16 and 12. All right. So Revelation 16 and 12, it says, "And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. All right. So if you go in here and you type in Euphrates River, it'll show you where it's located. It's right over here, you see? And this river has been drying up, and people know that it's a fulfillment of prophecy. This river starts from down here and it goes all the way up to here. And that's to prepare the way for these other countries such as Russia and Iran and also China to come and meet down here in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, so let me show you a quick video dealing with that river drying up.
Happening now, Iraqis fleeing 3 towns on the banks of the Euphrates River. There are new concerns that the river's water level is so low that ISIS fighters can just walk across and launch attacks.
That's after ISIS militants, they shut off the gates of the Ramadi Dam. This new strategy presenting a major security and humanitarian threat.
And the 6th angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates. The water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world, to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty.
Yeah, so it's the Lord that's really gathering these nations all into this this valley. All right, He gathered them all in the Middle East, so He can release all His indignation upon all these armies, in which we're going to get that. All right, this is Job 2:20. It says, "Behold, I will remove far from you the northern army, which is dealing with America, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate." And that's the Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, with his face toward the east sea. That's how you know they're coming from the west, all right? Because if you look over here, it's got America on the left, and they coming east, and they're gonna end up over here, all right? Facing the east sea, all right? So Job 2:20, continuing on, all right, his face is gonna be towards the east sea, and they're dealing with Esau and his army, which is America, all right? And his inner part toward the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things. All right, this is dealing with the U.S. Army. They all going to be exterminated at some point once they get over there, and the Most High is rounding them up. You see. This is Isaiah 34:1. It says, "Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury is upon all their armies. Ye have utterly destroyed them, and have delivered them to the slaughter." And that's in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, in the east. All right. So these soldiers that's been deported over there, they're not, more than likely, they're not coming back, because Most High is delivering them there for the slaughter. All right, you see, it said their slain shall also be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. All right. So that's the Most High setting this up. And ultimately, they going over there, they're going to fight against each other. But then they're going to turn and fight against our Lord YAHAWASHI. All right. Because the Lord has an indignation on all these nations. And it's going to go into that right here, how he's going to destroy them. This is 2nd Esdras, chapter 13, verse 1. It says, and it came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, and lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the ways thereof. All right. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance, look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. All right, this is our Lord YAHAWASHI coming back during Judgment Day on what you people will call a so-called UFO. It's going to be like the UFO that you see on Independence Day, but even greater than that. All right. So, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burnt that heard his voice, like as the earth felleth when it filleth the fire. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven. All right. So these men were the armies which were gathered into that valley, all right, for Judgment Day, to subdue the man that came out of the sea, and that sea is dealing with the sky. All right. It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain. This is talking about that spaceship, which you people call, all right, which is a chariot, and flew upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet does fight. So these people, they're going to be so afraid, but they're going to have to fight. All right? They're going to turn from fighting each other, and then they're going to fight our Lord YAHAWASHI, which is a so-called black man according to Scripture. All right? It says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth, and he had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. And that's dealing with those laser beams that are going to come out of the ships. All right. It says, and then it says, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire and the flaming breath and the great tempest, and filled with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived. In a innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. And this is the Lord delivering them all to the slaughter. All right. Lord has an indignation upon all nations, and this is getting into that. It says, verse 12, and afterward saw I the same man come down from the mountain, and call unto him and another peaceable multitude, and that's the children of Israel. All right. And there came much people unto him, whereof some were glad and some were sorry. Some of them were bound, and some brought of them that were offered. All right. It says, then was I sick through great fear. So 2nd Esdras saw this vision, and it was so bad that he was actually sick with great fear when he saw it. It says, and I awakened and said, thou hast showed thy servant wonders from the beginning, and hast counted me worthy that thou shouldest receive my prayer. Show me now, get the interpretation of this dream. All right, so the angel is going to break it down to 2nd Esdras, what this was. All right. So verse 16, for as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that shall be left in those days. That means trouble unto them that shall be left in those days, and much more trouble unto them that are not left in those days. So if you're not living to see that moment, then it means that you pretty much died. All right, verse 17, for they that were not left were in heaviness. Now understand I the things that are laid up in the latter days, which shall happen unto them and to those that are left behind. Therefore are they come into great perils and many necessities, like as the dreams declare. Yet it is easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world. All right? So it's better for you to see all these terrible things that are going to happen in the last days than for you to be taken away, all right, for you to pass away. He says, and not to see the things that happen in the last days, as he answered unto me and said, The interpretation of the vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the thing that thou hast required. Whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind, this is the interpretation. It says, he that shall endure the peril in that time have kept himself. Alright? That's why it tells you that wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times. Alright? They that be fallen into danger are such as have works and faith towards the Almighty. So we're going to be tried regardless. The ones that have this knowledge and wisdom, we're going to be tried in that day, but we're not going to be in the shape of these other people. It says, know this therefore, that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that be dead. This is the meaning of the vision, whereas thou sawest a man coming up from the midst of the sea out of the sky. The same is whom the Most High, the same is he whom the Most High, the highest, have kept for a great season, which by his own self shall deliver his creature, the elect of Israel. Right? He shall order them that are left behind. And whereas thou sawest that out of the mouth there came a blast of wind and fire and storm, and that he held neither sword nor any instrument of war, but that the rushing in of him destroyed the whole multitude that came to subdue him. This is the interpretation. So the Lord, when he comes, he's going to shout with a great shout. These nations, they're going to stop fighting each other, and they're going to come and try to subdue him. All right? Verse 29, behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the face of the earth, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives. All right? And he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth, because they expect the so-called white man, Jesus, to come back, but it's actually our Lord YAHAWASHI, which is a so-called black man. He's coming back with anger. All right? He said, and he's going to be on a spaceship, what these people call it. He said, one should undertake to fight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. All right? And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, that the signs shall happen, which I showed thee before. And then shall my son, YAHAWASHI, be declared, whom thou sawest as a man ascending. All right, verse 33, it says, and when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. And an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as they saw as them willing to come, and to overcome him by fight. But he shall stand upon the top of the Mount Zion, and Zion shall come and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and builded, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. And this my son shall rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest, and shall lay before them their evil thoughts, and the torments wherewith they shall begin to be tormented, which are like unto a flame, and he shall destroy them without labor, by the law which is like unto fire. Alright? So the Lord deals with both sides. He deals with the evil and the good. So evil has to play out in order for good to come in. Alright? And that is our Lord YAHAWASHI, which is coming to rebuke these nations. Alright? And there's going to be no more war after that. He's going to destroy all these armies. Alright? And every weapon has to do with war. And there's going to be no more war on earth. After that, it's going to be straight correction for all these nations. These nations are going to have to bow down to the laws, statutes, and commandments of our Lord YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM. And that way, they're going to live a peaceful life, because the laws of the Most High are life within itself. All right? So the Lord is coming to cut off that counsel, which has been spread throughout the earth, throughout Esau, the so-called white man. These other nations have taken on the philosophies of the so-called white man Esau. So the Lord is coming to tear down these kingdoms and build up his kingdom on earth in righteousness. All right, so all these nations can receive some sort of mercy after their 1,000 years of slavery, in which they have to serve the Israelites. All right, but Esau, the so-called white man, his people, are the only nation that will receive no mercy. In fact, after 1,000 years, they're going to be exterminated off the face of the earth. So you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives, you are the only ones that can be saved from the destruction, which is mainly coming to America, because America will be completely destroyed off the face of the map. It's prophesied in the Bible, all right? And before all this right here happens, America will be destroyed. All right, so it's important for you to turn back to your power, Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Yahawah, that's the true name of the Father, and YAHAWASHI, that's the true name of his only begotten Son. And that is in the ancient Hebrew tongue. That is his true name and the true name of his Son. All right, so turn back while you can before it's too late and the day pass away as a chaff. Hope that was edifying. Until next time, I'm going to say shalom.